Frankfurt, or officially Frankfurt am Main, is the fifth largest city in Germany and is considered the economic hub of the country, with it being the home to many major companies, while also being a shithole if you ask the average German. But still, the city have a long and rich history that dates back into the 1st century, with evidence of Celtic and Germanic settlements in the city, as well as Roman remains from the 1st and 2nd centuries. However, the first written mention of Frankfurt stems from Charlemagne's personal biographer. In the late 8th century, Charlemagne built himself a royal court at Frankfurt, meaning the Fort of the Franks. And in the summer of 794, a church council was held there, and later, Louis the Pious, Charlemagne's son, selected Frankfurt as his seat and built a larger palace. And in 1838, the city was encircled by defensive walls and ditches after the Treaty of Verdun, and Frankfurt became the capital of the East Francia kings and emperors. Imperial diets and church councils were repeatedly held there. The establishments of religious monasteries and numerous endowments to the local church furthered the urban community. Also, as the Holy Roman Empire had no permanent residence anymore, Frankfurt remained the center of imperial power and the principal city of East Francia. And by 1180, the city had expanded greatly, and by 1250, it had seen an increase in privileges in addition to economic growth. The city also became a free imperial city under the Hohenzollern emperors, and it experienced strong growth, and starting from the 16th century, trade, art and science progressed in the city. And the invention of the printing press in nearby mines promoted education and knowledge in the city. In the 17th century, tensions between the guilds and the patricians who dominated the city council led to substantial unrest. And in 1612, following the election of Emperor Matthias as the new Holy Roman Emperor in the 13 Years' War, Frankfurt was able to maintain its neutrality. The city council had avoided siding with one opponent or another after its negative experiences in previous wars. The issue became critical between 1631 and 1635 when the Swedish regent Gustav Adolf came to Frankfurt demanding a commendation and provisions for himself and his troops. And later, like the rest of Europe, the plague ravaged the city, and in the 1648 Peace of Westphalia, Frankfurt was confirmed as an imperial city, and soon it reached new heights of prosperity. The palace backhouse at Zeil in Frankfurt even served as a residence of Emperor Charles VII until 1744, and later, during the War of the First Coalition, Frankfurt was occupied in October 1792. And on December the 2nd of the same year, the city was retaken. However, during the War of the Second Coalition, General Charles Pierre Augereau occupied the city with 9,000 men and extorted 4 million francs from it. The city also lost its free city status with Napoleon's downfall. The Allies drew together in Frankfurt to re-establish its old rights and set up a central administrative council under Baron von Stein. The Congress of Vienna clarified that Frankfurt was a free city of the German Federation, and in 1816 it became the seat of the Bundestag, which was a federal German parliament to replace the Holy Roman Empire. However, despite Napoleon's defeat, his nationalistic ideals spread to the region, which led to the revolutions of 1848, also known as the March Revolution, which forced Clemens von Metternich, the Austrian head of state, to step down. And on 18 May 1848, the National Assembly held its first meeting in Frankfurt St. Paul Church. Frankfurt at that point was the center of the political life in Germany and the unification. However, they failed in that, which led to the Austro-Prussian War in 1866. And Frankfurt was annexed by Prussia because of the war, and the city was made a part of the province of Hessen-Nassau. And during the German Empire period, Frankfurt continued to be an important financial center and was home to several major banks, like the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Also, it played a significant role in the German economy during World War I. Since it was an important economic and transportation hub for Germany, the city's factories produced war-related goods, and it served as a major center of logistics and supplies for the German military. And while Frankfurt was not directly on the front lines of World War I, the war did have an impact on the city. Frankfurt suffered damage from bombing raids by the French airplanes in 1915, and after the end of the war, Germany was forced to accept the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed harsh penalties on the country. This led to a period of economic and political instability in Germany, including Frankfurt. And in 1919, Frankfurt became the capital of the newly created state of Hessen, which was established after the dissolution of the Grand Duchy of Hesse. And during this period, the city underwent significant modernization and urban development, including the construction of new housing, public buildings, and infrastructure. However, the economic difficulties and the political instability of the Weimar Republic also had a significant impact on Frankfurt. The city suffered from high inflation, unemployment, and social unrest, which fueled the rise of extremist political movements such as the Nazi Party. And during World War II, large parts of the city center were destroyed in the bombings, and on March 22, 1944, a British attack destroyed the entire old city, killing over 1,000 people. The East Port, an important shipping center for bulk goods with its own railway connection, was also largely destroyed. Frankfurt was first reached by the Allied forces during late March 1945. The US 5th Infantry Division seized the Rhine main airport on 26 March 1945 and crossed assault forces over the river into the city on the following day. And after World War II, Frankfurt was heavily damaged, but it was able to rebuild and modernize its economy and infrastructure with the help of the Marshall Plan. It emerged as a major financial and a business center, transportation hub, and a center of culture and intellectual life in West Germany. Anyways, this is all for today. I am Wonder of you, and I'll see you again in the next video.